before you walk away, before you convince yourself that love just isn't meant for you. Stay here for a moment. I know you're tired, not the kind of tired that sleep can fix, but the kind that lives deep in your chest, the kind that comes from giving your heart too many chances, to the wrong hands. You trusted, you hoped, you stayed, even when it hurt, and now, it feels easier to believe that love is just pain wearing a beautiful disguise, but listen to me. Just once. Love was never supposed to break you like this. It was never meant to leave you questioning your worth, or make you feel like you're too much, or not enough. Real love doesn't confuse your soul, it understands it. It doesn't drain you, it holds you, quietly, even on your worst days. Maybe what you experienced wasn't love. Maybe it was loneliness trying to feel like home. And that's not your fault, so before you give up on love, don't close your heart because of what hurt you. Don't punish your future for someone else's inability to love you right, because somewhere in this world, there is a love that won't make you beg, won't make you doubt, won't make you feel small, and you deserve that kind of love. More than you think. I know what it feels like, to sit in silence and replay everything in your mind, every word, every moment, every what if, that never found an answer. You start questioning yourself. Wondering if you gave too much, or maybe not enough. You wonder if something about you made them leave, if there was a version of you that could have made them stay. And, slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to lose faith, not just in people, but in love itself. It doesn't happen all at once, it's quiet, subtle, like a light fading in a room you forgot to check. You still smile, you still talk, you still pretend like everything is fine. But deep inside, something has changed. You don't believe the same way anymore. You don't trust the same way anymore. And love, the thing that once felt like hope, now feels like a risk you're not sure you can take again. But listen to me, just once. You didn't become this way because you're weak. You became this way because you cared. Because you gave your heart without holding back. Because when you loved, you didn't do it halfway, you stayed when it was hard, you forgave when it hurt. You tried, even when everything inside you was telling you that something wasn't right. That kind of love, it leaves marks. Not the kind people can see, but the kind you carry in your chest. The kind that makes you hesitate before opening up again. The kind that makes you guard your heart like it's something fragile. Because you know exactly what it feels like when it breaks. And maybe now, you've reached that point where giving up feels easier. Where you tell yourself, maybe love just isn't for me, not because you don't want it, but because you're tired of being hurt by it. I understand that, but the truth is, what you went through wasn't the end of your story with love. It was a chapter, a painful one, yes, but not the final one, and I know it's hard to believe that when all you can feel is the weight of what you lost, when all you can remember are the moments that meant everything to you, and somehow meant nothing to them. You start to feel replaceable. Like everything you gave could be forgotten so easily. Like your presence didn't matter as much as you thought it did. But that's not the truth. The truth is, you were real in a situation that wasn't. You were genuine in a place that didn't know how to value it, and when something real meets something temporary, it's always the real one that gets hurt the most. That's not because you were too much, it's because they were not enough for what you had to offer. And I need you to understand something. Deeply, just because someone couldn't love you the right way, doesn't mean you are hard to love. It doesn't mean you are too complicated, too emotional, or too broken. It simply means they didn't have the capacity to meet you where you were. You see, not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some people come to show you what love is not. They teach you what you should never accept again. They reveal the parts of yourself that you didn't even know needed healing, and I know. Lessons like that come with a price. A heavy one. You lose time, you lose trust. Sometimes, you lose a piece of yourself in the process, but even then, you are not lost, because the part of you that still feels, that still hopes, even if it's buried under fear, that part is still alive. And as long as that part exists, love is not gone from your life, it's just waiting. Waiting for the moment when you stop associating it with pain. Waiting for the moment when you realize that what hurt you was not love. It was the absence of it. Love doesn't leave you confused about where you stand. It doesn't make you feel like you have to earn basic respect. It doesn't make you question your worth every time something goes wrong. Real love, it feels safe. Not perfect, not without challenges, but safe. It doesn't make you feel like you're walking on glass. It doesn't make you afraid of being yourself. And I know right now, that kind of love feels far away, maybe even impossible. Because all you've experienced so far has taught you to expect disappointment. But your past is not a prediction of your future. It's a reflection of what you've been through. Not what you deserve. You deserve a love that sees you. Not just when you're happy, but when you're quiet, when you're struggling, when you don't even have the words to explain what you're feeling. You deserve someone who doesn't run from your depth, but chooses to understand it, and that kind of love, it exists. But it won't find you if you close your heart completely. It won't reach you if you build walls so high that nothing can get through. I'm not asking you to rush. I'm not asking you to trust again immediately. Healing doesn't work like that, but don't give up entirely. Take your time. Sit with your pain. Understand it. Learn from it. Let it teach you what you truly need, what you should never settle for again, because the next time love finds you, it shouldn't look like something you have to chase. It should feel like something that chooses you back. Without hesitation, and maybe right now, you don't feel ready for that. Maybe right now, all you feel is exhaustion. That's okay. You don't have to be ready today. You just have to not give up completely, because the heart you're trying to protect is the same heart that will one day feel something real, something that doesn't hurt in the way you've been hurt before, something that doesn't leave you questioning everything. And when that day comes, you'll realize that all the pain you went through didn't destroy your ability to love. It refined it. It made you stronger, wiser, more aware of what you deserve. And you won't accept anything less. You won't beg for attention. You won't chase someone who doesn't see your value. You won't stay in a place where you feel alone, even when you're not. Because you've already lived through that. And you know you deserve better. So don't let your past convince you that love is not for you. Love didn't fail you, the wrong people did. And there's a difference. A big one, because when the right person comes into your life, they won't make you question whether you're enough. They won't make you feel like you have to compete for their attention or prove your worth over and over again. They will see you clearly, and they will choose you consistently, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard too. And I know, part of you is afraid to believe that, because hope, after everything you've been through, feels dangerous. But closing yourself off completely, that's not protection. That's isolation. And you don't deserve a life where you have to protect yourself from the very thing that was meant to bring you peace. You deserve to feel love without fear.
Wicked point.
You deserve to trust without constantly waiting for things to fall apart. You deserve to be with someone who doesn't make you feel like loving them is a risk. And that kind of love, with you not giving up on it entirely, even if it's just a small part of you that still believes. Hold on to that, because that small part is stronger than all the pain you've been carrying. It's the part that will guide you back to something real, something honest. Something that doesn't feel like a battle, and until that day comes, be gentle with yourself. You've been through more than you admit. You've carried feelings that no one else saw. You've stayed strong, in moments where breaking down would have been easier. That matters. You matter, and your story with love, it's not over, not yet. I know it still confuses you. How someone, who once meant everything, can become a stranger you no longer recognize. How promises that felt so real, can disappear without explanation. And you're left there, holding on to memories that don't seem to match the ending you were given. You start asking yourself questions that have no clear answers. Why did they come into my life, if they weren't going to stay? Why did it feel so real if it was always going to end? And the hardest one, why wasn't I enough to make them stay? That question. It stays with you the longest. It echoes in your mind when everything else is quiet. It makes you doubt yourself in ways you never did before. It changes how you see love, how you see people, how you see yourself. But listen carefully. Not everyone you lose is a loss. Some people leave because they were never meant to be part of your forever. They were only meant to cross your path, to teach you something you couldn't have learned any other way. And I know that doesn't make the pain disappear. It doesn't make the nights any easier or the memories any lighter. But it gives your pain a purpose. Because every person who came into your life and left, left behind something more than just memories. They left lessons. Quiet, painful lessons that slowly shape the way you understand love. Maybe they taught you that love should never feel one-sided, that you shouldn't be the only one trying, the only one fixing, the only one holding things together, while the other person slowly lets go. Maybe they showed you how it feels to be taken for granted, so you would never accept that kind of treatment again. Or maybe they taught you something even deeper. That love without respect is not love at all. That no matter how strong your feelings are, you cannot build something real with someone who doesn't value you. At the time, you didn't see it as a lesson. You saw it as love. You believed in it. You gave your time, your energy, your heart, thinking it was leading somewhere meaningful, and when it ended, it didn't just feel like you lost them. It felt like you lost a future you had already started imagining. That's why it hurts so much, because you weren't just letting go of a person. You were letting go of everything you thought you were building with them. But here's the truth. That takes time to understand. If someone was truly meant to stay in your life, they wouldn't have left so easily. They wouldn't have made you feel like you had to convince them to stay. They wouldn't have made you question your worth or doubt your place in their life. See? Real love doesn't walk away when things get difficult. It doesn't disappear when it's no longer convenient. So if they left, it wasn't because you were lacking something, it was because they were not aligned with the kind of love you were ready to give. And that's a painful realization, but it's also a powerful one. Because it shifts the way you see the ending. Instead of seeing it as rejection, you start to see it as redirection. They didn't leave because you were not enough. They left because they were not right for you. And there's a difference between those two things. Even if it doesn't feel like it at first. You see, sometimes we hold on to people not because they're right for us, but because we're afraid of starting over. We become attached to the idea of them, to the comfort of having someone, even if that someone is slowly hurting us. We ignore the signs, the inconsistency, the lack of effort, the way we feel alone, even when we are with them. Because a part of us hopes that things will change, that if we just love them a little more, understand them a little better, be a little more patient, everything will fall into place. But love is not supposed to be something you have to fight for, alone. And when you finally lose that person, it forces you to face something you were avoiding all along. That they were never giving you what you truly deserved. That realization hurts, but it also frees you. Because it breaks the illusion, it shows you that what you had was not everything you thought it was. That there were gaps. Missing. Things you ignored because you were focused on the parts that felt good. And once you see that clearly, you begin to understand why it had to end, not because you failed, but because it was never meant to last. Some people come into your life to show you what love should not feel like. They show you the importance of boundaries. They teach you that your time and your energy are valuable and should not be given to someone who doesn't appreciate them. They teach you that love without effort is empty. That words without actions mean nothing. That consistency matters more than temporary affection. And these lessons, they stay with you. They change the way you approach love in the future. You become more aware, more selective, not because you're cold, but because you've learned the cost of giving your heart to the wrong person. Yes, that means you might be more guarded, more careful, but that's not a bad thing. That's growth. That's you learning to protect your peace. Not out of fear, but out of self-respect, because the version of you who went through that pain is not the same version of you who will love again. You're stronger now, not in the sense that you don't feel anymore, but in the sense that you understand more. You understand your worth. You understand what you need, and most importantly, you understand what you will no longer tolerate. So when the right person eventually comes into your life, you won't accept confusion as love. You won't mistake inconsistency for mystery. You won't settle for half-hearted effort, because you've already experienced what that feels like. And you know you deserve something better, something real, something stable, something that doesn't leave you questioning everything. But to reach that point, you have to stop looking at the people you lost as if they took something away from you. They didn't take your ability to love. They didn't take your value. They didn't take your future. If anything, They revealed parts of you that needed to grow. They showed you what you were willing to tolerate, so you could change it. They showed you how deeply you can love, so you can one day give that love to someone who truly deserves it. And that's why not everyone you lose is a loss. Some are lessons, hard ones, painful ones, the kind that stay with you for a long time, but necessary ones, because without those lessons, you might have continued down the same path. You might have kept giving your heart to people who were never capable of holding it the right way, and that would have hurt you even more in the long run. So even though it doesn't feel like it now, even though the pain still lingers, even though there are days when you miss them more than you should, there will come a time when you look back and understand why it didn't work. You'll see the things you couldn't see before, the red flags you ignored, the moments that didn't sit right with you, but you chose to overlook. And instead of feeling broken by it, you'll feel grateful for the clarity it gave you, because it led you back to yourself. It reminded you that your happiness should never depend on someone who isn't sure about you. It showed you that love should never feel like something you have to beg for. And most importantly, it taught you that losing the wrong person is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of something better. Even if you can't see it yet, even if you don't feel ready to believe it yet, it's still true, because your story with love is not defined by who left. It's defined by who stays, and how they choose to love you when they do. And the right person, they won't make you feel like you're temporary. They won't treat you like an option. They won't leave you questioning whether you matter. They will show you in ways that are clear, consistent, and real. And when that happens, you'll understand why everything before it had to fall apart. Not because you weren't enough, but because it was never meant to be your forever.